You're still muted. Still muted.
So sorry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Why don't we just take a deep breath and just turn within to the presence that is never an absence, that divine intelligence that brings the world into being out of itself. And we are one with this power and presence, and we're invited to co-create the world with this divine spirit. So today I speak with joy the word for play, knowing that this golden gift of childhood is alive in each of us as we released old answers and imagine new ones, joyfully playing with the infinite possibilities for the highest good of all. And I'm so grateful for this service, knowing that it will reawaken that playful, curious part of our child self that was within us from the beginning. And so I release my word into the law, and we release together by saying, and so it is. And so here are the quotes. In the beginning, we behold nothing visible. There is only an infinite possibility, a limitless imagination, a consciousness, the only action of this consciousness being idea. And that's Ernest's words. And then Erik Erikson speaks of the playing adult steps sideways into another reality. The playing child advances forward to new stages of mastery. And then from Albert Einstein, play is the highest form of research. And so I ask you to just spend a moment or two in relation to these quotes, seeking to find that place within you that is open to possibilities and has always been there behind all of the stress and struggle of adult life. And if you will now rejoin me, I would just like to mention that I was reminded of my first big learning, I think, was when I took training as a Montessori teacher. And Maria Montessori's big word is that play is the child's work. And the big thing about Maria Montessori is that school is not necessarily structured. You provide the environment, and then the child is allowed to choose what he wants to work on. And it's very interesting because I was also reminded of having this experience of calling a group of kids together to work with. She teaches reading in part with sandpaper letters, and bringing this little group together to work with the letters. And I still remember this little boy who was a very boy, very active and mostly on the move. And I didn't happen to call him to the group. And all of a sudden he came over and had his hand on his hips and he said, "Why didn't you call me? I need that." And it's like, to me, that's sort of, kind of what I'd like to see life be more like, is that sense of openness to finding that thing that strikes your imagination or your desire to learn, and then being able to follow that without judgment or whatever. So anyway, that was for me. So I guess we do the March's affirmation. Today, spirit calls me out to play, and I answer the call. I play in the imagination and the infinite possibility of divine mind. In the freedom and expansion of play, my heart is lifted by the lightness of spirit. Today, I laugh, sing, and play. I am joyous, and so it is.
Oh, Lisa, that was beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. And now we have some music by Richard.
Yes, yes. Can you all hear me? All right. Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite topics whenever such a thing would be brought up, is the notion of play. It's what I do for quite a bit of my waking hours. And imagining what I am going to go into next. Sometimes it takes some bravery to open yourself up to those possibilities, and you have to take a step out into the unknown because you really want to play and you want to develop something within yourself. So this particular tune by Daniel Nahmod is called "What Kind of World?" And I like it because it's putting the ball right back on our court. It's up to us, in part, each one of us, to make this a better world. And in these days, when Europe is topsy-turvy, and sometimes you can imagine the worst, but we have to look beyond that and move into what can be, and we can make this a better world. Everyone has a part. Okay, I've said it. That's enough. Let's have the music. What kind of world do I want to see? What kind of world do I want to leave my children's children? Now is the time to make up my mind. What kind of world is this gonna be? What kind of world will be my legacy to the generations for all humankind? It's time to decide. What kind of world? Will it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful and kind? I mean, I have something to do with this. Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Will everybody have enough? Will we speak in the language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it's all up to you and I to decide. What kind of world do we want to have? When will we be ready to start giving back to this precious place, to every young face? Tell every boy and girl, what kind of world? it be peaceful? Well, am I? Will it be joyful? Will it be all those things a child so easily describes? Will everybody have enough? Will we speak in the language of love? Somehow I'm suspecting it's all up to you and I. What kind of world do we want to have? When will we be ready to start giving back to this precious place, to every young face? Tell every boy and girl it's going to be quite a world. What kind of world? We have something to do with this. They have something to do with this. What kind of world? Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That's beautiful. Oh, what kind of world? So we get to play in the possibility. That was beautiful. Thanks for that beautiful rendition of what's possible for us. So, good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And welcome to March. And March has what I think is really a beautiful, wonderful theme. And the theme is living everyday wonder through play. And we're going to explore play this month. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you get so caught up in the serious business of life that you forget to enjoy life and to have fun. So this month we're going to focus on play as a sacred activity, as a spiritual practice. And as I was putting together today's message, I realized how much play and spiritual practice actually have in common. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I think about doing my spiritual practice, it seems almost more like an obligation than a fun thing. It's more than just connecting with the divine. Sometimes connecting deeply with the divine can feel like this heavy work. When I think about meditation and prayer and contemplation and acting the part of a serious spiritual person, it doesn't really encourage me to sit down and to do my spiritual practice. But I forget sometimes that joy and freedom and wonder and awe are all divine qualities as well. Not that I don't enjoy doing my spiritual practice once I get started, but sometimes I can think of about a million other things that I have to do that take priority over my spiritual practice. You guys can you relate at all? But if I change the way that I think about my spiritual practice to the way that I think about play or the things that I really love to do, then I'm much more open and willing to engage in my spiritual practice. And not just in the morning and the evening, but all throughout my day. So play, what is play anyway? And why do we do it? Play is kind of hard to describe. First of all, play is different for everyone. My play is not going to be your play. I like to get my hands in the dirt when I play. I don't even mind pulling weeds. My husband, on the other hand, has a look of extreme discomfort, even mowing the lawn. Gardening of any kind is not his idea of fun. He'd much rather be throwing and catching and hitting a softball. And yet for me, gardening is a joy. I love the smell of the dirt and the colors of the plants, and I love to water. I love the way I feel when I'm participating with the aliveness of the garden. So what is your favorite form of play? Think about that. What fills you with that aliveness and that connection? And play is also difficult to describe because it doesn't have any apparent purpose. It doesn't really have any survival value. It doesn't help us make money or get food. Play is just done for its own sake. And I think that in our world of you got to work hard to get ahead, we generally think of play as kind of a waste of time. But I really don't think it is a waste of time. I think it does have a purpose. It frees our soul, just the lightness of it. It frees our soul to the wonders of life all around us. And it causes us to live in that freedom of what is possible. I can just feel it as I'm speaking these words to you. I can feel that openness. And play is an inherent activity in all species. We've all seen pictures of children just naturally playing, and puppies playing, and kittens and baby birds. They all play. And play develops so many skills that we do need to survive and to thrive in life. I mean, think about what happens when we play. So pretend with me for a minute. Put on your imagination cap for just a minute. Think of an activity that when you do it, you're playing. It doesn't matter what it is. Something that you do just because it's fun and you really enjoy it. Got it? Got it in your head? Okay, now for a moment, imagine that you're engaged in this activity. You're doing it. You're feeling it. When you're fully engaged in this activity, are you concerned about time? Probably not. When we play, we lose our sense of the passage of time. We're present now. We're right here, right now, playing. We're engaged. Now, are you thinking about how you look or what you're wearing or what people seeing you will see? You're probably not. When we play, we stop being self-conscious. We stop worrying about how we look or if we're awkward or what people see when they look at it. It simply doesn't matter because we're engaged. When we're playing, we are fully immersed in the moment. We get in that place that we talk about sometimes in the zone, but I like to think of it as the divine flow. We're standing in the divine flow. Doesn't play sound a lot like spiritual practice? I don't know about you, but when I meditate or do spiritual mind treatment, I'm not thinking about time or about my environment or how I look. I'm in the zone. I'm connected. I'm in the flow. So play and spiritual practice do seem to have a lot in common. And when I think about it, play is very improvisational. When I'm doing spiritual mind treatment, I just kind of improvise and I let things flow. Generally, we're not locked into a rigid way of doing things when we play or when we're doing spiritual practice. And there might be rules. We have steps of spiritual mind treatment. We have rules of game, but we think about how we can be creative within the rules. We participate with the rules, just like we participate with universal laws when we do our spiritual practice. We're much more open to whatever opportunity presents itself, or whatever ideas pop into our head. The activity of play really frees us up to step out of our normal routine, the usual way we do things. And as a result, we tend to kind of stumble on new behaviors or thoughts or strategies or movements and ways of being. That sounds like spiritual practice to me. I know in that song that Michael Gott sings, Amazing Things, one of the lines, and I know I've said this before, but I love this line, sometimes deepest answers come when we're out there having fun. Play is this environment that frees us up to catch the idea, the flow of the divine that comes our way. Play is the essence of freedom. And I have a quote from Holmes, our founder, Ernest Holmes, told us, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage cannot be God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. So play must be the birthright of every living soul. And think about it, it would be impossible for Spirit God, the all that is, to express itself through its creation unless its creation was free. We are free. We must be free to express divine good in the way that we personally express it. because we individually express the divine uniquely in our own way. You know, and play supports us in doing that. It supports us in seeking our good and pursuing our desires, to move past obstacles and to improvise, keeping us open to all the possibilities. You know, the more I talk about it, the more I see that play is important and valuable. And it really, truly does add so much to our lives. You know, and just having an attitude of play as we move through our day, it brings this sense of lightness and wonder and awe, a curiosity and gratitude. When we were doing the morning meditation, I invited us to think about a time when we were playing. It felt so light and so open. You know, play is a wonderful spiritual practice. And even the kind of what you might call fringe ingredients or attributes of play, things like anticipation, waiting with expectancy, wondering what will happen next, you know, curiosity, even a little anxiety or uncertainty, teach us something. You know, how it is like when I'm gardening, will those lettuce seeds come up before the birds eat them? Will I be able to hit that ball when it comes at me? Can I run the entire race? You know, whatever it is, can I do this? How will it play out? And if it doesn't go the way we want it to go, we get to do something different the next time, just like life. Play brings us surprise, and it brings us the unexpected, a new discovery, and a shift in perspective too, and on and on. Play's a wonderful spiritual practice. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I wake up in the morning and right out of the gate, I start thinking about all the things I have to get done today. You know, the serious business of life. I'm adulting. But what if the minute my feet hit the floor, instead, I play in the possibility of what lies ahead? What if I say something like, I can't wait to see what wonderful adventures today will bring. You know, I'm so grateful. We do talk a lot about beginning our day in gratitude. Wouldn't that change the entire way I engage with the world and my day? I think it would. You know, it really would. Honestly, I think all the definitions that we come up with to describe play fall short, because play is an experience. Play's a feeling. It's a little bit like trying to describe a good meal. Until you actually put the food in your mouth, you don't really know what it's like, no matter how hard you try to describe it in words. And what I taste probably will not be the same thing that you taste anyway. It's like trying to describe your relationship with the divine. You know, I can tell you how it feels to step into a sense of oneness and divine, but I can't really tell you what it feels like, because it is a feeling. That connection with the divine presence is a feeling. It's an experience. If we try to leave the feeling out of play, we aren't really playing. You know, and I think that stories really help us to experience things more than adjectives, because stories draw us into the experience of an activity or a situation. So I read this story. I'm going to read part of it to you, but I read a story in a book called Play, and it's by an author named Dr. Stuart Brown. And Brown has been researching play for decades. And in his book, he tells this great story about a dog named Hudson. Hudson was a 6-year-old Canadian Eskimo sled dog. Yeah, he and his whole pack and his owner, a man named Brian Ladoon, lived in the Canadian far north. And in this particular year, in this November, the sea hadn't frozen yet enough so that the polar bears could go out and hunt for seals, and they were hungry. And one day, Ladoon watched as a 1,200-pound polar bear quick stepped across a snowfield right towards Hudson. And Ladoon thought for sure Hudson was a goner. But as the polar bear got closer, Hudson didn't bark or run. he just bowed his head and he wagged his tail, which is a classic play signal in the world of nature. And to Ladun's astonishment, the polar bear responded to the dog's invitation, and they began this playful romp in the snow. You know, both of them kind of opened their mouth without baring their teeth, and they made that soft eye contact, flat hair, no hackles raised, anything, all signaling that neither one of them was a threat. So I'm gonna read what Brown wrote, because I love the way he describes this. So he wrote, after 15 minutes, the bear wandered away, still hungry, but seemingly satisfied with this much needed dose of fun. Ladun couldn't believe that what he'd witnessed, and yet he was even more astonished when the same bear returned the next day around the same time for another round of frolicking with Hudson. By the third day, Ladun's colleagues had heard about this interspecies wrestling match, and his campsite was filled with visitors eager to catch a glimpse of the two new best friends. Every night for a week, the polar bear and Hudson met for a play date. Oh my God, can you believe this? Such a great story. And then Brown goes on to write kind of his observation of the whole thing. He writes, what is it in these animals' nature that was strong enough to overcome hunger and survival instincts? How can these two species that don't interact peacefully read each other's intentions well enough to roughhouse and play fight when any misunderstanding could have become deadly? As I began to look at these sorts of questions, I started to see that play, and here is the part that I love, that play is a tremendously powerful force throughout nature. In the end, it is largely responsible for our existence as sentient, intelligent creatures. Wow. And I think that's probably true, and why all species play as young species. You know, I think this story and Brown's comments really sum up the power of play. You know, it puts us in the present moment. It calls us to engage, to be creative and spontaneous. And it pulls us into a state of freedom and joy. You know, it stands us in the divine flow. What more could we really ask for in a spiritual practice? You know, I love what Rob says, that spiritual practice is all about feeling good, and it is. And certainly play brings us there more easily than anything else I can think of. You know, spirit is just dancing around us, in and through us all the time, calling us to celebrate everything, you know, the serious, the adulting world, and the silly, the playful. What if at the end of the day, we're all just playing Twister with life? Do you remember that game? Did you ever play Twister when you were a kid? It's a game where they have that plastic mat with the big colored dots, and you spin the dial, and you have to put your right or your left hand and then your right or your left foot on a particular colored dot. It was fun when I was young and limber. But, you know, Twister requires a few things. I actually have a picture of Twister. Let me see if I can. If you're not familiar with Twister, this is the game. I found this online. It's got some little swirls in it because, you know, copywriting. But that's Twister. You probably remember it if you grew up around the time I did, which I think most of us all did. It was a fun game. It's Twister. What a great game. But anyway, if you're going to play Twister, you have to have a few things in place, just like we have to have a few things in place for life and for spiritual practice. First thing we have to do is lay out our mat on the right foundation. You know, you can't play Twister with socks on because it's too slippery and you just fall. You can't get a firm grip. And it would be pretty difficult to play Twister on a sandy beach. You know, you need that strong and changeless foundation to play Twister. And we need that in life too. You know, when we do our spiritual practice, what's the first thing we do? We connect with that loving, consistent, changeless presence within us. This is where we begin our play into the imagination of the divine. When we begin our spiritual practice of play, we need a strong foundation to stand on. We have to have a strong foundation to have this trust of nature, of faith in the order of life. You know, we need that strong foundation, just like Hudson and the polar bear. And then we can have this sense of abandonment, you know, that to where you can let go of your worries and your cares and your shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We can stand in trust and in faith in the nature of life, in the nature of spirit, God, the divine, whatever we like to call it. And when we play Twister, it's a given that we will be intertwined with the other players in unusual ways. Sound like life? Which really adds kind of to the silliness and the fun of the game, especially when you find your face up in someone else's armpit as you struggle to put left foot on red dot. You know, when you're playing Twister with life, it can also bring us some very unusual, unexpected, uninvited predicaments and situations. Who would have guessed that we'd be living through the last of us 2 years of a pandemic? You know, I mean, who would have known? We could never have guessed. You know, life is full of changes and surprises and failures and wild successes. And when we stand on that strong foundation and we have a conviction, a trust, and a faith in the nature of life, we recognize that there really is truly underneath it all a divine order and a harmony to life, and that we can consciously participate with it. And that the entire universe is kind of swirling around us and supporting us in a million tiny ways that we never even notice during the day. But when we pay attention, we can see the synchronicities that rise up, that we can recognize them in our life, the ones that support and sustain us, even when we're not paying attention. You know, and I was thinking about it, if we really are expressions of our Creator, and we live our lives within the life of our Creator, then it's a given that no one, no thing could know us better than our Creator. And when we consciously choose to participate with it through consciously setting our intentions for our life and our thoughts and in our feelings, then Spirit, God, the all that is, will bring those intentions to us in ways that are perfect just for us. And if we remain open to all the possibilities by playing within this divine imagination, playing within consciousness, which God's consciousness is our consciousness, then we can be sure that our intentions will demonstrate in ways that are just right for us, that are personal to us. You know, I had another Holmes quote that I want, let me see, where is it? That I wanted to share with you. Ernest Holmes assured us that God is personal to us and that it feels itself as us when he wrote this. We should grow in the understanding that Spirit responds to us and becomes more conscious of its presence within us. It is the very breath of our breath, the imagination of our word. It is the creative power in our thought and the law and energy that executes that thought. I'm going to read that one again. It is the creative power in our thought and the law and the energy that executes our thought. Spirit knows us intimately because it is us, expressing as us. So the last thing when we play Twister is that we understand, you know, in advance that interesting situations are going to happen and that we have to be willing to embrace them, just like life. You know, Twister is silly and ridiculous, but no more so than the absolutely incalculable ways in which life presents itself to us, you know, with all of its delights and its disappointments and its just the unimaginable ways in which life unfolds right in front of us. Holmes said that if we're to know a God of joy, we must be joy. So when we're encountering these silly, ridiculous, unexpected, ways in which life unfolds in front of us, what if we did it with a sense of joy and a sense of play? Play draws us into that space of joy, and it helps us to let go of that seriousness that we think we need to be spiritual. You know, it invites us into experiencing our spirituality, our divine nature, through play and laughter and joy, in frivolous and unimportant and just unexpected ways. Because spirituality is not always serious. Yes, it can be, but God has a sense of humor. It has to have a sense of humor. Look at life. But when we make the space within our own lives to really laugh and to live in the expression of joy that is the divine presence, we are then being our most God self, our most authentic self. I think that's being true to the nature and the spirit and the aliveness of life itself. So this week, I invite you to approach your life with a sense of play. You know, how can I bring some play to this situation? What little bit of whimsy or humor or fun will open me to a new way to think about this task or this event or this circumstance? What will help me? What sense of play will help me to see what's possible rather than to see it just the way I've always done it before? You know, I invite you to explore the ways in which you can let a God of joy be your life. You know, seek ways to play, you know, and giggle and have a hearty laugh, a hearty guffaw, and to celebrate the unimaginable beauty and wonder that life brings us when we live to the best of our ability in conscious union with the divine presence. So anyway, let's do a little prayer about play and being present. So taking in a nice deep centering breath. And just relaxing into the presence of the divine within each and every one of us, the presence of the divine in and around and through and as us. We know that this presence is grand and big and soft and gentle. It's creative and juicy and wonderful. It laughs and sings and dances. It's surprised, it's curious, it's generous, it's prosperous, it's healthy and vital and alive. And I speak my word for and about each and every person that is present on this call and each and every person that is on this beloved planet. And I speak my word for the planet itself. I speak my word for our beloved friends in the Ukraine, that they may be at peace and in some small way find that essence of play, even in the darkest of their moments. So I speak my word for and about all life on this planet, that we come to the essence of spirit, which is absolute joy. And that whatever we may be going through at this moment, we know that we are safe. We know that we can trust spirit. We know and we are confident that everything is bringing us to a greater and a fuller and a more alive experience of love and life and joy. So I relax in this knowing. I know that these words are impressing law even as I speak them, feel them, and become them. For this is the empowered way I participate with God itself. So I just relax in this knowing. I'm so grateful. I just give great thanks for the ability to play in God, to play with God, to play as God, to play with you and my spiritual family, to come into the aliveness and the richness of love and community. Oh, and I just relax and then knowing all is well. And I invite you to signify your agreement by saying with me, and so it is. And so it is. Oh, let's see. So, who's doing our benediction today? I believe it's Maureen. Maureen, would you like to do the sacred giving, time of sacred giving for us? And I'll put up the.
Certainly.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody. Hola, desde Ajijic, Mexico.
Okay, I'm going to get the ways to give up here for you. There we go.
Okay, and if you have a gift, or maybe it's on your phone for Venmo, you can put that on your heart. And this gift, you can send it several ways. One Heart, One Mind Center on Venmo. You can send a check directly to Jim, and you can address it to One Heart, One Mind, care of Jim Massapust, and he's got that address in the chat room.
Well, it isn't in the chat room because Jim's not online today, but I can put it in the chat room.
Okay, and let's just hold our gifts and repeat after me. I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and there's our word, in joy. And it flows back to me in kind. So it is. So thank you, everyone, for giving to the fellowship and for being here today. And I'll wait, should I wait and do the benediction after we have
Announcements.
Announcements.
Yvonne is going to give our announcements and then you can do the benediction afterwards, and then Jim, and then Richard can sing us out. And then we'll have our conversation, our social time.
So we have our normal things that we have every week. One is on Monday at 6 o'clock to 6:20. We have our group prayer meeting, and it's really great. Group prayer has long been proven to be really powerful, and it's a nice way to start your week. It's short and it's really lovely. And everything I'm telling you about, you can find if you need the Zoom numbers, you can find them in your what am I trying to say, newsletter, your One Heart, One Mind newsletter. And on Tuesday evening from 6 to 7, Reverend Michelle is going to lead us in a discussion on meditation and how it can support our lives, and talking a little bit about what our different procedures are when we meditate. And then we're going to end up meditating. Imagine that. And then on Friday is the One Heart, One Mind online cocktail party at 6 o'clock. And that's a fun way to come and just check on your spiritual family and find out what's going on and what people are doing. And so that's Friday, 6 o'clock. And then one last upcoming thing is on Wednesday, March 16th. That's important to put that on your calendar. From 6 to 7:30 will be a presentation by Judy Hirsch. And she titles it, Master Your Mind, Master Your Life. And Judy's a certified heart math coach and trainer. And she's also the founder of Evolution Solutions. I love that, Evolution Solutions. Her experience, or her expertise, combine the science of heart and brain coherence with a mind, body, spirit practice and principles for a holistic approach. So I think it's really great, and it's a wonderful opportunity for you to enjoy it from home and in just your home, or you could even get together with some of your spiritual friends and listen to it. And that's on March 16th. It's a Wednesday. So not this coming Wednesday, but the next Wednesday. And I think that's all I have. Anybody else got anything?
Well, thank you. No, I don't think so. I think that about sums it up. That's perfect. Oh, I did want to say, Jim Massapust, Leslie's husband, we all know Jim, had his hip surgery on Tuesday. Leslie said he didn't have the best of nights last night. So if you would, in your spiritual practice, do a little treatment for him, that would be wonderful. Thank you. And Maureen is going to give us our benediction, and then Richard's going to sing us out. Oh, Leslie has something to say.
Yes, it is March and we need to celebrate March birthdays.
Oh, thank you for
Oh.
reminding me.
So everybody who has a birthday in March, would you please raise your hand so we can recognize you? No one. Okay.
Any marchers?
Any marches?
No
No.
marches.
My brother's birthday is tomorrow. Does that count?
Part of the family.
Shall we sing it together?
Here.
Let's
Happy
sing.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. And we're going to sing Blessed Always to take us out today. I do have the lyrics here, but I think everybody knows them by now. But take it away, Richard.
There you go. Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say amen.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
For
we're
the-
gonna stop.
for the benediction. I would